The Jimmy Olsen Radio Network.
Spinal adjustments provided by Dr. Chad Rolfson. The Spinal Tuning Chiropractic Center is a Des Moines area low flat fee per month unlimited chiropractic care practice. When life happens, just adjust. Schedule today at spinaltuning.com. Barbecue provided by Kenny's Rib Wagon, catering ribs for your pleasure and serving daily at Plaza Pub, 62nd and Douglas in Des Moines across from Merle Hay Mall. Find Kenny's Rib Wagon on Facebook. Welcome to the Gospel Road. We're going to look at Mark 7. It says, Now when the Pharisees gathered to him with some of the scribes who had come from Jerusalem, they saw that some of his disciples ate with hands that were defiled, that is, unwashed. For the Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they wash their hands properly, holding to the tradition of the elders. And when they come from the marketplace, they do not eat unless they wash. And there are many other traditions that they observe, such as the washing of cups and pots and copper vessels and dining couches. And the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, Why do your disciples not walk according to the tradition of the elders, but eat with defiled hands? And he said to them, Well, did Isaiah prophesy of you hypocrites, as it is written, This people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me? In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men. You leave the commandment of God and hold to the tradition of men. And he said to them, You have a fine way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to establish your tradition. For Moses said, Honor your father and your mother, and whomever reviles father and mother must surely die. But you say, if a man tells his father and mother, Whatever you would have gained from me is Corban, that is, given to God, then you no longer permit him to do anything for his father or mother, thus making void word of God by your tradition that you have handed down, and many such things you do. And he called to the people to him again and said to them, Hear me, all of you, and understand. There is nothing outside a person that by giving into him can defile him, but the things that come out of a person are what defile him. And when he had entered the house and left the people, his disciples asked him about the parable. And he said to them, Then are you also without understanding? Do you not see that whatever goes into a person from outside cannot defile him, since it enters not his heart, but his stomach, and is expelled? Thus he declares all foods clean. And he said, What comes out of a person is what defiles him. From within, out of the heart of a man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person. And from there he arose and went away to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And he entered a house and did not want anyone to know. Yet he could not be hidden. But immediately a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit heard of him, and came and fell down at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile, a Syrophoenician by birth. And she begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. And he said to her, Let the children be fed first, for it is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. But she answered him, Yes, Lord. Yes, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. And he said to her, For this statement you may go your way. The demon has left her daughter. And she went home and found the child lying in bed, and the demon was gone. Then he returned from the region of Tyre and went through Sidon to the Sea of Galilee, in the region of Decapolis. And they brought to him a man who was deaf and had a speech impediment. And they begged him to lay his hands on him. And taking him aside from the crowd privately, he put his fingers in his ears, and after spitting, touched his tongue. And looked up to heaven. He sighed and said to him, Ephata, that is, be opened. And his ears were opened, his tongue was released, and he spoke plainly. And Jesus charged them to tell no one. But the more he charged them, the more zealously they proclaimed it. And they were astonished beyond measure, saying, He has done all these things well. He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. Mark 7. Traditions. Commandments. We've all dealt with traditions one way or the other, many different ways, either through religion or family, work. This is the way they did it before, so we just need to keep carrying that on and not, changing or looking for different ways to accomplish what you're trying to do. So, I grew up hearing about tradition, and it was against the tradition. Yeah, they were literally always bashing tradition. But yet, there were other certain traditions that we always followed, which included Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Those are traditions, become holidays. It's just interesting, and I'm not against it. And as I was younger, I had problems with them. As I got older, I kind of started looking at things differently, as we all do. We get older. I'll use the word wiser. That's probably not always 100% true, but we get older anyway. And through that, we then start making our own decisions, our own choices, our own ideas on how things are, what they mean. Now, I think traditions are good because I think traditions are reminders of what has happened, where we've come from, where we're going. So I think to that end, they're good. But I think it's something that we need to be careful with. Jesus was even talking about in Mark 7. They were having the conversations there about these traditions, how really they were focused more on the traditions than on Jesus. They were letting the traditions get in the way of their worship. They were letting the traditions get in the way of their relationship with Christ, their relationship with God. So again, I think they're there for a reason. But at the same time, we have to be careful with those traditions. Because we could miss many pieces, many things in life, if we're too focused on those traditions and not focused on God. Just like we could be so focused on traditions, we're not growing ourselves. We're not becoming better ourselves. We're not helping others be better. Again, it's that journey that we're going through every day, being better today than yesterday, being better tomorrow than today. But again, we've got to be cautious. We need to be careful. The Pharisees are having a fit because, all these disciples are not washing their hands. Okay. Maybe they were not raised in your traditions. So you're going to be offended. Remember, love one another. encourage one another, uplift one another. Again, never bash anyone for their traditions. As the Bible tells us to pray for one another, to lift up one another. The Holy Spirit comes in and takes care of them on the inside. Well, we have to love them on the outside. They will know we are Christians by our love, sharing that love for them, and then praying. But then being there for them when they need it. These are very important things to keep in mind. We've all fell into those issues where things have gotten in our way. But do we allow those obstacles to stay, or do we overcome them and move on? Again, traditions are good, and I think that they're there as a reminder, which I've said, that God is always there, every day. To help us, to be there for us. God is always there. That's where those traditions come in, especially for people that are new, that are just coming in, that are just learning about God. Because not everybody knows. Not every culture knows. Not everyone was taught. So that's where these are great pieces to help them, to encourage them as they are going on their journey. But then the same. Be careful. Be cautious. Because you might find yourselves following the traditions more than the commandments. It says that there in Mark 7, you have a fine way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to establish your tradition. I think sometimes we can get into those, even the traditions of worship, that it just becomes second nature, second hand. You just go in, you just do it, but you're not really doing it from your heart anymore. So you're just going through the motions. Michael W. Smith song. Going. Actually, Matthew West has one motion. Has it caused you to just go through those motions that it's not meaning anything to you anymore? Or are you still doing it from the heart and loving God with everything that you have? Mark 7, as I always say, read it for yourself. What does it say to you? How does it help you to grow? Personally and professionally and spiritually. All those pieces really growing together, becoming the best that we can be. Thank you for listening to the Gospel Road. In fact, if you enjoyed this, you can share it with others on Facebook and Twitter. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Couldn't remember there for a minute. I at some point will be found on Twitter again. Right now I've been suspended for some copyright infringement, and these were some videos I shared years ago from a third-party app. I believe it was Time Hop, and what it was like it went through this day in history, so it was giving, clips of songs and all that, and I guess they're finding them, and so now I'm going through the suspension. I'm being slapped! You bad boy! You shared things that might sell our records! Oh, sorry, did I say that? Yes, it's frustrating. It's annoying. And I don't understand some of this stuff when it comes to social media, some of the rules that they've created. Because, if I'm sharing your song, wouldn't that encourage someone that I like that? I need to go buy that. I need to go download that. I mean, you put your song on YouTube. You put your song on Facebook. You put your song on Twitter. But if I share what you posted, I get in trouble. Riddle me that, Batman. I just feel that people want control of us. All right, now I'm going down the rabbit hole. We are just in such a strange world. Again, we're so used to things being one way, and then everyone wants to change them. Remember, that's, those traditions. Now they want to change those traditions. My mom not being, she retired before this whole tech boom happened, the big tech explosion, and we had to get new phones because our carrier ended up merging with another, so our old phones were not working, and they had a flip phone, and I was like, oh, well, look, I'm going to be cheap. I'm going to get the free ones. And I probably should have they did have one flip phone that I could have got them. I think it was in stock. But I didn't. I went with the free ones, and she's not wanting to learn. Oh, every day. Mark 7. Read that today. How does it speak to you? How does it help you grow to be better? To be that better person for you, for others? How does it help me? It's why I started this whole thing. Wow. Many, many, many moons ago. I think it was around 2008 was my first podcast. And here we are in 2021. So 13 years. Wow. I haven't always been the most consistent because I'd have a year or two that I didn't get something done, and I let life get in the way. I've been pretty consistent again for this past over a year now, about a year and a half, roughly. So I'm doing better. Trying to be better. As we all do. We're trying to be better. But again, I do this, again, it's like me. It's just kind of like my release. So I can tell myself I'm bad. Stop sharing those things. Don't. I'm telling you, you can share my stuff. In fact, I even have other podcasts so you can check out. You can share them too. I'm giving you permission to share them if you so choose, if you like them. In fact, I've got to get my Bible story and my story time done. Get those posted this week. Last week I didn't get any stories posted. I just did the Gospel Road, and I did a Daily Planet because I had a interview with Phil Vassar that I had done. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. I'm going to stop rambling now and slapping myself. But thank you so much for listening to the Gospel Road. Have a great day. Oh, by the way, if you find me on social media, just look up My Buddy Jimmy. And, of course, on YouTube, it's My Buddy Jimmy 101. Have a great day. God bless.
The Jimmy Olsen Radio Network.